Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are very, very welcome back. And this is the second part of my tourney run. This is the first fight is against Just a Fool in the losers bracket. I fought Fool just a few times, so I kind of know he has some shenanigans set up for the very beginning, and we're just waiting for the bolt here. I'm on a pretty standard strength build. I maxed out min rex for everything, for just set up for Flame Strike Halberd, which was, of course, legal during this tournament. He's going to be rocking the Power Stance Straight Swords, the classic matchup, halberd off whatever into that, and then we see that, and he's going to be chilling for a bit, and we both realize, yep, now is the time to go for that flask. Num num num, glug glug glug. Almost tries to get a dagger off there, but it's not going to work out. I managed to get the roll off there on the JL1, which of course, if he doesn't play upright against those, he does eat a Flaming Strike, force into that back corner now. And I'm going to be keeping up that little bit of pressure, and the dagger goes out. 3 hits there, I believe. I'm not sure. I think he might have gotten... I'm not sure if roll poise exists. I managed to do an unlock there in the R2. Force a trade. Managed to get another Flaming Strike. He's very low, and he is, in fact, dead. And that is Halberd. Force him into a position where you can get an unlocked Flaming Strike and just go to town. As I'll sever out here now in just a moment. Look at me. I'm absolutely stunning. I did lay up the Lionels for this tourney. We went on to the Wolf Mask for that extra little bit of end, which meant I could pump a little bit more into strength, or just have a little bit of extra stamina. Stamina's not really needed all that much in this game, but and it's going to be the exact same thing as before. And we'll be very cautious to see now how this one is going to go. I believe I make a mistake here with my stamina management that he doesn't really call out. Bolt is out. We're going to be waiting a minute, and we do go for the physique. And he does actually manage to get that punish off right off the bat. Goes for another dagger. I'm just saying no. Flaming Strike there. Managed to catch him with just the tail end of it. The dagger goes out, forcing him back there. Look at that stamina slowly but surely going down because of all that running. Flaming Strike again. I keep up pressure here even though I'm running on empty. He doesn't call it out though, and I go for the dagger. Force back, and then I'm finally punished for it. And that's half of my health bar. I believe on... They're nobles, I think. I'm fairly sure they're nobles. Force in there, managed to get that off dag. Still have priority though because of the chip damage from before. He's forced back under. I run under, managed to get that tier proc, forcing him there, almost getting the Flaming Strike there, but he just about managed to get out. Force back, and now I realize that it's Jover for him. He is on very little HP. Try and follow up there with that Flaming Strike, but now he's panic rolling. He is in a state of panic, and that is all she wrote. That's my first and only match in the losers finals. I'm pretty content with how that one went. Very happy when we do a little bow then to Ondo. Fair play to him for hosting again. Kudos to Ondo TV. His link will be in the description. He's still doing tourneys. I believe he has a mage tourney coming up shortly on both PSN and PC, so keep your eyes peeled there. Keep an eye on his stuff. Wonderful German gamer, and very kind to be hosting these things. I know from experience how difficult it can really be. And I think this is now the first fight with Eli, if I'm unmistaken. We will soon find out as I'm in world and I scamper into my corner. Halberd into PSSS, just as a kind of a closing thought on that matchup. I have consistent forms of chip in form of the dagger, and he has consistent forms of forcing a roll out of me using the crouch R1s. People hadn't really been experimenting much with it, I believe, at this point. So you don't see many of them. But getting that bit of pressure with the crouch R1 is just so insane. And we see Il Davo, who will eventually take me down here on the Power Stance Great Spears. He, of course, is the one who knocked me into losers, if you remember from the original video, and I'm just going to be chilling. And we're going to be chilling. I could have actually aggressed and tried and forced a Flame Strike there to try and see what he'd do. Goes for that there again. And I believe at some point we both decide that physicking is probably handy. Yeah, there you go. Keeping up that pressure. He keeps up that going with the Glintstone's Chris to try and get some good damage. I managed to run out of that. He sets up for JL1. I'm having none of it because I know that that's his main source of damage here. And I try and force trade with the dagger here, but he calls it out. And in this matchup, going for those dagger hits is generally quite safe. And he thinks that I'm going for some shenanigans, but unfortunately, he does manage to call me out. I go for a run R2. It's not going to land, but it does force a roll, so he's not going to be able to punish it. I'm pretty scared here that he's going to go for a strafe on my run R1s or even standing R1s, and I'm playing way too cautiously, and I just spam the dagger then, but he still manages to clip me there. It is Ireland to Italy, so it's not like terrible that he does go for a jump there. Thought it was going to be an empty one, but it was not, and that Flaming Strike then to peel off. He goes on to fists, and I just go to town. But unfortunately, those fists can come out so bloody fast, and he takes it 0-1 for the first stock. So I have now, I think the only person who beat me in this tournament even once was actually Eli. Eli is a phenomenal player. He's a very, very good PSGS player as well. And it was an absolute pleasure to get an opportunity to fight him again. And apparently I didn't edit this out. This is cringe. But yeah, in this matchup, I was talking to Space Ranger after this tourney. Apparently PSGS into Hulbert is a relatively even matchup. Just it depends on who whiffs first. And of course, I'm incredibly aggressive. Almost too aggressive. So he's going to get the... He's more than likely in these exchanges going to have the ability to just press in my face, because I'm going to try and mash him out. He knows that I'm going to go for that off dagger to try and get that little bit of stun. But I have swapped over to Rokiers. I have actually done that, which I think I might be able to just knowledge check him here, or potentially build check him. Not great form, but it is a tournament. It's kind of to be expected. Of course, that 109, it forces that 109, and he doesn't go for that punish. I managed to actually reaction roll. I'm shocked and appalled. And he goes for that roll catch. Not going to happen, though, and I have him stuck in the corner, which is where I want him. I want to keep him there. And I'm trying to bait out something, and I managed to get a flaming strike off there, catch him in the corner, and I managed to clip him, and the stock comes out, and just that poise damage just comes in clutch. Managed to get that interrupt here, go for another flaming strike. Just I think he's going to try and come back in or maybe press, but he doesn't, and there we go. Those unlocked flaming strikes are absolutely devilish when you have someone caught in the corner, and I catch him with a stray or two. He might have been in his menus. In the off chance he was, I knew I was in range to either force or roll, and he's already on the edge, so he's going to be very, very cautious about those rolls. So worked out in the wind-up, was a bit of a gamble. A run R1 would have worked as well, I think, based off of that. Perhaps an unlocked one. But, you know, hindsight is 2020, and Captain Hindsight strikes all of the time. And we're sticking on the whole stock here, the off-road gears, which of course was the best ladder legal or tourney legal off stock at the time. Again, we call off thrusting sword off stock. It's a holdover from the other games, because that was usually the one that people would go for. But yeah, it's a nasty setup, and again, it forces the other person to go onto that higher poise. But when they do go to that higher poise, you don't have the ability to press with such impunity. So it's nice to have the option. An awful lot of people go for the speed boost tech, which I don't believe was actually discovered at this point, or the true extent of its power going for that toggle tech had been discovered at this point. But yeah, I lose now an awful lot of power, because the off dag would have been very handy to have now that he's gone to that higher poise threshold, and it would have basically locked a slot for him unless he's going for the insane amount of damage. And that phalanx here that he has up is just keeping me at bay, keeping him nice and patient. I do manage to actually roll that. That's insane. Crazy. Flaming strike here does manage to connect on him. I go for the off stock here, double tap, try and get a little bit of a backswing. Say backswing, and it's a bit of a poke. I managed to catch him here with another flaming strike. He does manage to go for that interrupt and does have me on the back foot. I don't know why. If I go for those jumps, it's mostly out of utter frustration that I don't know what else to do. And then he trades then for that last one, and he was very, very close. That was a much closer round than I should have. And if I recall correctly, I may have molding, seething. I was in shambles. The EU mental, ladies and gents, had finally taken over, and it was so Jover. So very Jover. You hate to see it. And now we're back in here again. I think at this point I decide that I'm going to swap back over. Offstock plays an awful lot more patiently than I want to play. I want to be up in their face and force them to make decisions. Like, am I going to go for the off dagger? Am I going to go for the flaming strike? And because I have that consistent chip with really low recovery, I can force them onto the back foot and then go to town from them from there. But there we have the explosions. We have Le Drunk. We have the phalanx up. We have the double tap from me for some ungodly reason. I don't know why. But you know what happens to the best of us, bestie? Unfork, and we see these backstabs coming out here, and I could have gone for a backstab. I don't think I really should have. I think I was angling for it. I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then we flaming strike, but he does manage to get that interrupt. I'm going to be roll caught here. Geriatric actions coming in clutch, and the flaming strike comes out here. I go for the follow-up, but probably should have gone for another press outside of it, maybe a run R1 or something like that instead of it, just because it would have given me that actual because he's expecting the follow-up, right? Forcing him into a different role here. Go for another Flaming Strike because it's my most consistent form of damage outside of the poke. I am going to whiff. I am going to try mash, but we do manage to get out of it here. Flaming Strike comes out again just to try and force him on the back foot. I need some space here because if I don't have the space, I'm going to be in trouble. Go for that press. Flaming Strike again. Follow up. Not going to land once more. I need to mix those up. I go for the stock hit. He is now in trouble. He has to roll that. I'm going to panic roll, and that's going to be all she wrote. And Eli, takes another stock off me. Totes on forks. Unfork, bestie. Unfork. And I think this is the last round coming up here, if I'm unmistaken. There's like 2 minutes left of the recording. I like to think that I'd last more than 2 minutes in one of these sets, but it's not a sure thing, unfortunately. Lovely cup of tea. And now we see the swap over to the Stiepel. The Stiepel off Dag. I think this is just... is this a little bit of BM? Are we going to see a backwards butt bow? We do see some shenanigans from Eli over this set. And, you know, it's a video game. Whatever. He understands that he is around to play around with. What is it? Like, it's best of... He has a considerable advantage. One of the sets was super close and I threw it, basically. So he can afford now to dick about a bit with this setup, which I haven't really thought about playing into. He goes for these run attacks. I go for a setup there. I'm still on the Hall Dag. I try and strafe that, but it's not going to be enough. I try mashing out into it. I'm done. I'm a little bit annoyed. I'm a little bit tilted, I think. Again, the EU mental is a horrible disease. And there's nothing that can really be done for it. I go for a Flaming Strike there just to peel off for a bit of pressure. Try to go for a run attack, but it's not enough. I'm going to be chipped down to nothing. And then he switches to this, and I realize I can just Flaming Strike. I roll because I'm on like 1 HP in a dream. And then I go for another Flaming Strike. I go for another Flaming Strike. I go for another Flaming Strike. And then he is now dangerously low. He's pulled back. I'm still technically in it. I don't know why I didn't go for something else. He's going to throw a dagger here again. Is it a dagger that kills me here? I'm not sure. I am fumbling in my menus though. And he goes for the off dag. And then he finally gets the hit. Almost managed to catch him out there. Almost punished for his arrogance. Should have done it in hindsight. But you know what? That's the name of the game. And you gotta control the old Tiltaroony. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my second place in the Ondo tournament. Absolutely credit to all the players I bumped into. GG's, WP, and I'll talk to you all another time. Bye-bye.